Well, hello everybody. This is Terry Arnett, and welcome to Too Far Away Adventures, a channel about bicycle travel around town, across the country, and maybe even someday around the world. Who knows? And today I'm going to be introducing the channel, talking about what it's going to be about, what we intend to accomplish here, and about my upcoming trip across the United States beginning on June 1st, which is just a couple of weeks away. So first of all, a little bit about me. I I'm 64 years old. I'll be turning 65 in August, which I'll still be on the trip at that point, more than likely. Um, and I was born and raised down in central Illinois, a little farming community down there. Grew up down there with my two sisters and my brother. They're all younger than me. I'm the oldest in the family. Um, I finished high school, went to college briefly, and then ended up joining the Navy, where I served for 4 years as a helicopter air crewman and a search and rescue swimmer. Um, it was during that time that I met my future wife, who is now my former wife, unfortunately. We are divorced, but met her in Australia, and I moved over there after I got out of the Navy and lived there for about 4 years with her. Our son Chris, who lives here in Wisconsin now, was born over there. We moved back here in 1987, and yeah, 1987. And my family had moved from Illinois up to Wisconsin during that time, so we relocated up here, and that's where I've been since that time. Um, the rest of my family, I have, besides my son Chris, who lives just north of here in Shawano, Wisconsin, my two daughters, Ashley and Andrea, they both live down in the Orlando, Florida area. Ashley and her husband Austin, and then Andrea and her fiance Connor. Um, as far as my work, I spent most of my career in the transportation industry after the Navy. Um, I worked as when I was in Australia, I worked as a dispatcher for a courier company over there. When I moved back here, I had kind of intended on going into sort of some transportation management, but ended up driving a truck for about 13 years. And I did that. I was an over-the-road truck driver for a national carrier. I did that up until 2000, and at that time, I took a position with them as a fleet operations and terminal facilities manager for them here in Oshkosh. And I did that for almost 16 years. I was in that position. And then I bookended that with another 9 years of truck driving, which I retired from here in uh, uh, the end of March. And that 9 years I spent driving for a local LTL company here, less than truckload company, hauling freight back and forth to Chicago for them. So just a few more things about me personally. And I guess the big thing and the main thing and the real focus of my life is not biking. Or and it's probably in the last 10 years hasn't been my occupation either. It's been my belief in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I am a born again believer in Jesus, and Jesus is the focus of my life these days. And so everything that I do in life now, Jesus is a part of that. He has to be. The last thing that he told us to do before he left this world was to go and make disciples of all nations. And so that looks a little bit different for all of us. And I talk about that more in one of the upcoming videos. I'm doing a trip across America this summer, and so for at least for the next 3 months, that's going to really be the only adventure that's going to be on the channel is this trip across the country. And and so what does that entail? Well, when traveling by bike, you can do it a couple of ways. You can have somebody go along with you that hauls your gear, and you can just ride the bike every day. I haven't got anybody that wants to do that, or really afford to take the time off from work to do that with me for the next 3 months. So I'll be carrying everything with me and camping. So it'll be about camping. It'll be about camping out, being in the outdoors and camping out and the equipment and all of that sort of thing. And I'll talk about that, what I use and why I use it. And I've been doing this for a few years now. I've done quite a number of overnight trips, and I think I talk about this a little bit further in future videos here is that I did do a trip halfway around Lake Michigan about 5 years ago, which is journaled on Crazy Guy on a Bike. I actually have 3 journals on Crazy Guy on a Bike, and I have links on the channel here to where you can go and read those journals if you want to. I haven't journaled every trip that I've done, but the longer ones are the ones that were more interesting to me. I did do. So you can go and read those, and it kind of talks a little bit about how I do things. But at any rate, so I'll talk about the things that I'm taking along, and I'll go through do a video on packing up and what I took with me and why I took it, and I'll talk about some of the gear that I use, and I'll do reviews on it. I've got some new stuff that I haven't used before. Uh, it's going to be I'll probably talk a lot about the video production of this because I really wish I'd started this about a year ago. I've really only been seriously working on it for about 2 months now, and it was a lot to get done while preparing for this trip, to be honest with you. And my daughter Andrea, I think I mentioned that before, is going to be doing the editing for me, and so her and I have been working together on getting this kind of pulled together, and it's been a bit of a challenge. And I don't want to repeat myself here because, as I said, I've done some videos ahead of this that you're going to see after this intro, or I would imagine you will watch them in that order. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself on that. But so yeah, that's what it's going to be about. I also talked about the fact that I'm a born again believer in Jesus, and that's going to be a part of this channel. I am going to talk about the Lord as I go along in my travels, as the Lord inspires me to talk about my faith, about the good news of Jesus, and how that pertains to every person that's ever lived, and every person that's ever going to live, and everybody that's here now. It's I think sometimes can be a difficult thing for lay people like myself. I'm not a trained pastor or had any religious education. I'm just someone that reads the Bible on a daily basis and studies it and spends time in it, and I dedicate a lot of my time to being in the Word, and that's how you have a relationship with Jesus. It's being in His Word and being around other believers and worshiping Him and serving Him. And so a part of that serving is sharing your faith. And I'm going to do that on this channel. It's not all going to be about that. There will probably be some days when I don't do it, when I'm not. That's not what I'm talking about at all because I'm just not haven't been inspired to on that particular day to do it. But I think most days I probably will. There'll be something that comes to mind. You spend a lot of time out there on a bicycle, riding mile after mile after mile, and clearly I'll be enjoying the scenery and whatnot. But there's a lot of things that are going through your mind that you're thinking about. And the Lord is on my mind a lot most of that time when I'm out there. It's a big part of my quiet time with Him. And so there will be things that I want to share with you, and I will talk about that. So that's going to be a part of it. Another part of it is that I want to raise money for a couple of organizations that are that I believe are well, they're near and dear to my heart, even though I don't have any involvement with either one of them. I do want to use this as a platform to raise money for these two organizations, and they are American Heritage Girls and Trail Life. And so if you're not familiar with them, American Heritage Girls would be Girl Scouts for Christians, and Trail Life would be Boy Scouts for Christians. And when I say for Christians, I'm probably misstating that. It is it is scouting with a Christian emphasis. So the kids get the boys and the girls that are part of these troops, and these troops are all sponsored by churches around the country. The boys and girls that are a part of that, the young men, the young women that are a part of that, are getting opportunities to be in the great outdoors, which is something that I love and enjoy, and clearly biking across the country would fall into that I guess that fold of being an outdoor activity. And and so I want to do something while I'm doing this ride and doing this channel that is going to that will raise money for these two organizations to help them with the programming that and allows them to be able to get these kids outside, get them in community together, get them doing activities in the great outdoors and having a Christ-centered message revealed to them as they go along through these experiences that they're getting. So I will be putting up a couple of links to where you can donate to them. The donations will go directly to them, and I'm asking people that as the Lord leads you or as your heart leads you, that you would donate to them, because I think they're doing great things for these kids, and I want to help them out as much as I can, and I think this will draw attention to that. So this summer's trip, I want to talk about that just a little bit. Uh, I'm going to be starting from uh, Cape Flattery, Washington, and going to New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Um, and I'll talk about that more in the video where I talk about route planning and how I came up with the route for the trip. I'll go through that with you. So that's from the from and the to. Um, the uh, the duration, I'm thinking about 90 days. I'm starting June 1st, and I think which a week after Memorial Day, and I'm hoping to be out there by the end of by Labor Day. That being said, I don't have any time limit on how long it takes me. I don't have to be back for anything, and I'm not going to rush myself on this. And so I'm thinking about 90 days, and that's the best guess I can give anybody right now. I am still looking for people to ride with me. I had a gentleman that was going to do the trip with me, and he dropped out probably a month ago now. And I've had some ads out on Adventure Cycling Association and on Crazy Guy on a Bike, and I do have a couple of people that I think I'm going to be meeting that are starting the trip from different places. One of them is up in actually both of them are up in Idaho, where the Transamerica and Lewis and Clark trails come together. I believe there's a possibility that one or both of those I will meet up with along the way, but I'm still looking for people to ride along with me. I'm looking for people that just want to come out and ride for one day. That's fine, or a few hours, or just come out and say hi. I mean, I love that. One of the best parts about bike travel is the people that you meet along the way, and um, just the quick little relationships that you can have with people out on the road. That's been one of the things that's happened with me in the past. I've been invited into people's homes to stay overnight, and that's just been a wonderful part of traveling by bike, and one of the reasons why I like to do it. You're going slow, and people see you on a loaded up bike, and they think you're nuts to start with, and they just they want to find out about this person riding this loaded up bike, where they came from and where they're going. So that's that is clearly something that I encourage. If you want to come out and spend some time on the road with me, please do. I would love to have you. One of them is why are you doing this on a YouTube channel? Why are you starting a YouTube channel now to document this? And a couple of reasons for that. In the past, I've done some journals on Crazy Guy on a Bike, but I wanted to do this on video because I don't know that pictures can quite capture the beauty of the country and the action of being on a bike and slowly moving through it. And I wanted to be able to capture that. So that's one of the reasons. And to document it so that uh, my children and my grandchildren can see their father or grandfather do this, can spend, I mean, the kids are going to be able to spend every day with me, watching as I go along on these videos. So there's that. And I want to be able to myself go back and look at it, a year from now, and have memories of it, and be able to watch those memories play out. The final reason I'm doing it is because I want to encourage other people to get out there in the world and do things like this. It doesn't have to be, bike travel, although I would encourage you to give it a try. I think this can be an encouragement to do that, to get out there and travel by bike, or to do other things that are a challenge, that are adventures, that are fun to do. And so that would be another reason that I started the channel now. Where did I come up with the name for Too Far Away Adventures? And I didn't really come up with it. It was this little gal here, uh, my granddaughter Noelle. She's the one that came up with the name. When she's about 4 in that picture there, and when I don't know, she's around 3.5. She wouldn't say that something is over there or it's over here. She would go, it's too far away. Or if it was out of sight, she would say it's too far away. So as an example, she would sometimes throw her ball over the fence in her front yard, and then she would go, it's too far away, Grandpa. And so I just thought that a really cool name for a YouTube channel would be Too Far Away Adventures. And so that's what it is. So that's Noelle's invention. And I thank you for that, sweetheart. It was a wonderful idea. And I'm sure that you'll have many more good ideas for Grandpa in the future, right? So another question I get quite often is, why do you even want to do this? Ride a bicycle across the country? And that's a good question, actually. Um, and I'll start with, I think the obvious thing there is it's a difficult thing to do, and I think people kind of see it in that way. It's a pretty physically demanding thing. And I'll be quite honest with you. The trips that I've done for the most part have been on pretty flat land. I haven't had to climb a lot of hills. And I certainly haven't climbed any mountains in the areas where I've ridden a bike. I've never ridden a bike west of the Mississippi River, for example. Um, about the closest thing to mountains that you could say that I've been in is I was when my daughter Ashley and her husband Austin were living down in the Chattanooga area for a time. I was taking my mountain bike down there, and Austin and I were going out and doing some mountain biking in some pretty mountainous areas down there. And so that's probably about the only real experience that I've got with it. This is my mountain bike, my Salsa Timberjack mountain bike. So I would take this down to Tennessee, and we'd ride around in the mountains down there. And I think the challenge of it, the physical challenge of it, is really um, a reason that I want to do it. There's that part of it. There's the just um, going through the country at 10 or 12 miles an hour. There's just something fascinating about that to me, of just being on the back roads of the country and places you're never going to see when you're just normally traveling as a tourist across the U.S. And I really want to. I really am looking forward to just seeing a lot of rural America that you're not going to see when you're normally traveling places. I've been all over this country driving a truck, but you don't see, I mean, you see a lot doing that, but you don't see the country in the way that you would on a bicycle going 10 miles an hour. And you certainly don't meet people um, the way that you do on a bike. Another question I get a lot is, are you anxious about this? And what are you anxious about? Yeah, I am anxious about it. I've spent a lot of time thinking about going over those mountains out west. Um, and I've probably overthought it a little bit. Everybody tells me that you'll ride and get yourself into shape for them as you go along. And I'm sure that'll happen. And I'm quite honestly, I've been working pretty hard at getting my condition up this year. So I think that I will be okay with that. I'm feeling more confident about that all the time. Probably the biggest thing that I'm anxious about is traffic. You're really vulnerable out there on a bicycle in traffic. Um, People are people are impatient with cyclists, and I get that. I understand that. I drove a truck most of my life, or a lot of my life, and I understand the frustration of getting behind a bike. And that being said, we do try to stay off the main roads, but sometimes you just can't help but be on them, or being in areas that are very touristy. Wildlife, clearly, bears, mountain lions, and I'm taking precautions for that. And that's really all that you can do. I mean, you can fear those things and not go because of them, or you can take precautions and be sensible and just step into it. One of my biggest fears is that I won't be able to finish. And I think that's might be one of my greatest motivators, is that I'll want to finish so bad that I'll do whatever I've got to get through and to finish. I've been talking about doing this trip for about 7 or 8 years now, and I to not finish would just be heartbreaking for me. So What am I most excited about? I think I would have a better answer for that. What was the best part of the trip maybe when I get back. Um, but here's what I anticipate being the great things out there. For someone who hasn't spent a lot of time in mountains, and when I have, it's just been to travel through them, to be able to travel through the mountain west of this country at 10 or 12 miles an hour, I think is just going to be amazing. I even said that that was one of the things I was most anxious about. It's also one of the things I'm most excited about. I'm excited about taking that challenge on, the physical challenge of this. That's one of the big reasons why I'm doing this. Is I the toughest thing that I've done in my life so far was when I went through Navy Search and Rescue Swimmer School, and that was difficult. That was a decision every day to get up and go back to class the next day. It really was, and I was probably in the best physical condition I'd ever been in my life. Um, I don't think this will be that big of a challenge, but maybe at my age it will be. That it will be that big of a challenge, and so I'm looking forward to that. Just the beauty of the mountains, I think that's gonna be incredible, and I don't know until you're immersed in it. You can't look at video of it, you can't look at pictures of it, you can't drive through it at 70 miles an hour, and really I think get a sense of how just magnificent God's creation is. In places that you've never been before. And you take the places that you have been, like where I live around here for granted. There's a lot of beauty in Wisconsin too. It's a wonderful place here. So there's that. Um, Secondly is the people that I'll meet, and I know I will. I plan on jumping onto warm showers and getting some, probably doing some nights with people at warm showers and different things. And for those of you that aren't familiar with warm showers, it's a website where you can go and find people that host cyclists or backpackers. I think it's mostly cyclists and backpackers for a night or a couple of nights instead of them having to camp out at night. So I plan on doing that. So I'm just so I can meet the people. I've had some incredible interactions with people out on just the few trips that I've done. When I was on the Lake Michigan trip, I was able to share my faith with a young man and a young man from Puerto Rico at a motel one weekend when I was up there. I met a couple of days later, just by chance in a parking lot. They were celebrating their honeymoon, and not their honeymoon, their anniversary. They're an older couple. They were celebrating their anniversary, and turns out they were a couple of believers. And it was a Sunday that I met them. They were up there, and I think I met them in Petoskey, Michigan, and we were just standing in this parking lot. They were just curious about what I was doing. I was on this loaded up bike, and they'd been missionaries overseas. He had been a missionary pilot. I'm a licensed pilot, and so we had that in common, and the fact that we're believers in common, and just had a great conversation there, and stood in the middle of that parking lot and prayed one day. Things like that, I'm excited for, and I'm looking forward to them because I know that those times are going to come up, and just meeting people, just having conversations with them. And I think the other thing that I wrote down here was the pace of life. I am I'm I'm excited about that. I'm really looking forward to what life is going to be like out there on the road. I don't have a deadline. I don't have to be back for something else. It's going to really put me into a pace of life I've never experienced before. I'm looking forward to that, to see what it's going to be like. As far as places to go and see, I'm looking forward to seeing Yellowstone, the mountains. I think Colorado, I'm excited about seeing that. The Katy Trail in Missouri, which I'm planning on riding. I've heard that's a wonderful ride. Um, and I think along the Gulf Coast, the Florida Gulf Coast, I've been down there a number of times, never ridden across the whole thing. I don't think I've been any further east on it than about, not much past Fort Walton Beach. Um, and so I'm looking forward to that. And the end of the trip, my family meeting me in New Smyrna Beach and rolling out there on the beach on the last day on the bike and dipping that front tire in the Atlantic Ocean. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that too. Another question people often ask me is, where will I sleep at night? Well, I'm going to camp. I get questions about um, Well, or are you going to live? Are you going to be in a tent? How are you going to live every day out there on the road for, 3 months or whatever it takes you to finish this? And yeah, I'm going to camp. I'm going to tent camp. I have a hammock. I'm probably going to take that with me, but I'm not taking the full setup for it. It'll be something that I sleep in if the weather's going to be good overnight. I don't need to get a cover because I just don't want to have to deal with the tarp. Sometimes it's kind of hard finding a place to hang a hammock, um, and and to get a tarp up in some of the areas that I've been into. It's even difficult to get a tent into. If you're not in a campground, and I'm sure that I'll probably end up some nights camping, not in campgrounds. I've been asked a lot about how do you eat, because you got to eat a lot, to bike that much in a day. I take about a day's worth of food with me. I kind of mix that with eating out. So I don't do a lot of cooking. I don't do any heavy cooking. So I basically just have stuff that I can take into camp at night, heat up and boil in water, and just get me by till the next morning. And I've got stuff for breakfast in the morning to get me going 20 miles down the road, so I can find a place to get something to eat. So that's how I do that. I do plan on about once a week taking a day off, and I'll probably get a motel on those days so I can do laundry and things of that nature. So that will happen. Really, really severe weather someplace. I've run into that before, and I just got a motel because it just wasn't going to be safe to be outside. And what kind of bike do you take to do a trip like this? And I want to start out by saying that you can go out there and travel on just about any kind of bike. My first trip that I took across the state of Wisconsin was on this Schwinn Tour. The week before I took this trip, I rode that bike in a race around Lake Winnebago up here in Wisconsin. It's about a 90-mile bike race, so that's a pretty versatile bike. For myself, the bike that I'm taking is, I'll show you a picture of it here. I got a really nice titanium road bike, and this is one that I had custom built. It was built by a guy here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Sean Lynch at Winnebago Bicycles. I got the frame from um, a company out in Maine, the titanium frame and the pinion gearbox and a Gates belt drive, and that's pretty much overkill for. Well, it's not overkill for the trip I'm doing. This you don't need a bike like this. I just got a bike like this to do the trip, and when this bike is, I think I got some photos here of it loaded up. Yeah, there's one. This is a trip I was on little overnight trip I did last weekend. Just something you can hang some bags off of, and I got a sleeping bag. My sleeping bag's up here. Everything else I put in the packs, and I got a couple of other packs on it here, and one up in the front to carry my drone and my cameras and stuff. And that's what I have to do. That's what I have to do the trip with. I carry about 40 pounds of gear with me. I weighed this thing the other day. I'm trying to get that down a little bit more. Mine is a Carver tie all-road pinion bike. The pinion it has an 18 speed um, gearbox instead of a bottom bracket and chain rings on the front. It's got a gearbox that the pedal cranks go through, and the transmission is inside of there. So, are you concerned about your personal safety? There are a lot of crazy people out there. Well, how do you know that I'm not a crazy person? Actually, I've been asked that. Are you crazy? When you say that you're riding a bike across the country, they ask you that question. Are you crazy? And the answer to that is no, I'm not. I have not been clinically diagnosed as being crazy. So, yet. But yeah, my personal safety. Do you carry a gun? Things like that. I'm not going to answer that question. That's nobody's business. I have never run into any problems out traveling. In fact, I've found just the opposite. They're absolutely wonderful to you. They'll stop and offer you water or drinks or a ride. Um, they'll see you parked alongside the road someplace and stop. Hey, are you okay? I think you're kind of a disarming character when you're on a bicycle out there. I think I may have said that before earlier in the conversations today, but um, I'm cautious of my safety. I drove a truck in Chicago for a number of years, and you're in some parts there. You've got to be cautious because things happen. Um, I generally I kind of pay attention to my surroundings, but am I overly concerned about it? No, I'm not, because I just find most people to be pretty good, pretty decent people. Um, as far as personal safety with things like wildlife and whatnot, I'm going to carry bear spray, and I've got a bear bag to hang my food up at night. I won't be cooking food around where I sleep. I'll take all those precautions, those things. But yeah, generally speaking, I'm not too terribly concerned about it. You just have to be cautious. But I mean, bad things can happen to you in your own community on any given day of the week. So I mean, I don't know that it's that you're, yeah, are you a little more vulnerable out there on a bicycle? Yeah, you are. You can't run away from things.